Hey, Kevin here, top 100 financial advisor, two-time author, one-time bestseller, and we are here to talk about the stock market. I stumbled upon a really interesting ETF. We've talked about a few ETFs in the past. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Funds. They are a collective of investments or collection of investments packaged together, so you can just buy one and own, in this case, 75 different stocks. There are tons of different ones out there, and by tons, I mean thousands, tens of thousands. We talked about ARK, and ARK has different ARKK. That's the innovation ETF we talked about. Its fund founder manager is Kathy Wood, very interesting figure, and they have been doing extremely well up until very recently when Tesla kind of dipped. But I think they're going to be okay. Aside from that, though, I want to talk about this one. This one's called Buzz. The ticker symbol is BUZZ. And it just released, I want to say the beginning of March, like March 4th. So it is very early in this process. I have my eye on it, added to my watch list. But I think it's pretty interesting because of the way that this ETF works. It basically tracks an index that tracks investors' sentiment, which means that they are watching news articles, they're listening to Twitter, they're listening to all these social media platforms and listening to see what investors like, what are investors talking about, what are just people talking about, and are these sentiments positive? So if you hear a lot of good things, or basically the way the fund is supposed to work, if they hear a lot of good things, it gets added into this ETF, which is interesting because I don't know that just because people are talking about things makes it better, even though if people buy it for whatever reason, whether the company is good or not, it tends to go up. So in theory, this should be a very, very hot ETF. But again, that's just theory. We'll have to actually see how it works in play. So what I want to do right now, again, is super early. I want to give you a little bit of performance numbers and let you know what type of stocks are in here and just what makes me interested in it. Because I have not heard of anything like this. Now, it doesn't mean it's the first one out there of its kind. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it's the first time I heard about it. I got an email from Public about it. So really interesting. So here are some of the companies that are in here. It's 75 total. I'm clearly not going to read them all. Some of the ones that stood out to me, some of them we have talked about, and some of the ones that you guys have asked about. So it should give you a gauge of whether or not it's something you want to look into. So the first one, their biggest holding, I think they have $13 million in it. Yeah, 3.57%. So their biggest holding, $13 million in DraftKings, which I know what DraftKings does. They're like a sports betting site. I just haven't really looked into them. I think Michael Jordan took a stake in them not too long ago. So I don't know much else about that. I did do a podcast episode months and months ago with Andre on the Flavor Podcast. I'm a weekly guest on there. And we talked about DraftKings, but again, that was a while ago. So I don't know how well DraftKings has done since then. But you got DraftKings at number one. Shocking to me, Ford. Ford is number two. Now, Ford has historically been trashed from 2008 to about the end of 2020, and then things started to improve. We'll see if that's going to be a long-term thing. Just interesting that it's there. But apparently people are talking about Ford. I don't know. You got American Airlines at number three. You got Twitter at number four, which Twitter had done good very recently, but historically, going back to their IPO, they had pretty much been really bad up until like 2020. So we'll see there. Then you got the usual culprits: Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, AMD. One of y'all brought up AMD to do a video on. So I do want to do one on it. I've had AMD for a little while now. I think one of the kids has it as well. So AMD has been pretty good for a long time. You got Tesla, obviously. You got Plug. Plug, we had talked about being kind of in the electric vehicle battery space. So I'm looking to look more into that because I've heard a lot of good things. Again, I can't keep track of all 5,000 stocks in the world, but stuff like this helps me to narrow it down. And if you hear any of these that I'm reading out, feel free to say, hey, look, tell me more about this. I own this one. What do you think about this stock? Because I would love to do a video on it. Helps me to help y'all, but also helps me to learn and put things on my radar too. All right, so we talked AMD, yes, Tesla, Plug, Twitter, Ford. I'm still shocked by that. Disney comes in at 17. Disney now. For a while, I was out on Disney for a long time because I had held Disney since about 2014 or so up until 2019 maybe. And if you go back and look, Disney was pretty much flat for like 5 years. Then Disney Plus hits, and now it's a really good stock when it was not 4, 5, 6 years ago. But this is why you come back and reevaluate. If I had to reevaluate right now, this was my time to like add new stocks, I would definitely add Disney. It is in my public portfolio, but I used it using a free stock. So like I haven't put my own money in it. It's just free stocks that you get by signing up for the link. And you can do that too. If you want a free share of Disney, holla at your boy. You can just hit the link. I'll make sure I have the link in the comments, and you can get your free share that way. Zoom is on here. Doesn't really shock me. You got Square coming in at 25, stock I've been talking about. Right after that, you get Moderna. Let me see how much money they have in it. So $5 million, $5.7 million in both Square and Moderna. Again, I did tell y'all I did enter a trade for Moderna, just a stock trade, not an option trade, because I think Moderna can hit like 195 or so within the next 4 to 5 weeks. We'll see. Could be completely wrong. We'll see. We'll see. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm right so far. So scrolling down. Wells Fargo, they got Starbucks, and then Gilead Sciences. They got Activision on here. Activision was one that was on my radar. I tried to do a trade for that one. The market tanked, so I just got it that early before things got worse. So I hopped out of that one using a stop loss. All right, so those are some of the stocks that are in here. Again, it's super early. I also want to compare performance too, to kind of give you an idea of where it stacks compared to some of the stocks that we mentioned in it. So again, it looks like at least Yahoo Finance only goes back to, I think it is March 8th. I thought it was March 4th. March 8th. March 8th is what it's showing here. And it's up 7.9%, which is pretty good because the overall stock market is only up 3.3%. So it's already beating the market. It ain't but 2 weeks or so. So I wouldn't celebrate or jump up and down just yet. But comparatively, and that's the key thing, comparatively, how some other stocks have done, how have other stocks done in comparison to it? So you've got Ford, which surprised me, is up almost 8%, 7.9%, which is just where Buzz is, which kind of makes sense. 13% of this, close to 13% of this entire fund is in Ford, and Ford is at 7.9% since March 8th. So they're even, neck and neck at 7.9%. However, you've got DraftKings is up 13.8% over the last 2 weeks, which is really big. Again, 2 weeks. And even better, you got Plug at 18.4%. Again, this is only for about 2 weeks, so I wouldn't take this and say, oh, I need to invest in some of these. Not what I would do based on a 2-week performance. Now, if you gave me, 6 months, 3 months, maybe a year, then I would highly consider. I would consider a lot more. So what I am going to do is I would share the screen, but it's way too many lines. It's even throwing me off a bit. So I will hold off on that for now. But those are some of the stocks that I'm interested in from the fund, and I'm just interested in the fund in general. Now I need to do a little bit more reading, and let me bring the camera back so I can see. I want to do a little bit more reading to see how often this fund changes. Usually, depending on what company it is, they'll come and change these monthly. So they'll measure what's going on, come back, change the fund. They're not going to do it on a daily basis. They're doing entirely too much. But again, maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's annually, which I probably doubt because social media can change so quickly. But I'm just really interested in how much that changes because that is a risk in theory, right? We could be talking about, let's say, GameStop. GameStop was like the top thing January and especially February, right? But March, we don't talk about it as much. So is that a stock that would have been in there that's still in there now that shouldn't be? AMC, Tilray, some of those other companies that kind of fell off? I don't know. Also, people can talk glowingly about stuff that isn't so great. I can't say if Ford is one of those. Ford has kind of changed in the last few years. Maybe you can throw an AMC or something in there. For example, this time last year, people were saying that Amazon was going to buy AMC and AMC is going to get bought. And then people were talking all that stuff. That ain't what happened, right? So is that something that could have been gamed or schemed into this type of ETF without actually having any legitimacy in it? I don't know. These are things, again, it's a brand new ETF. These are questions I need to know. These are questions I'll probably call and ask if I'm writing an article or something. So we'll see. But I will keep an eye on it. I am interested. We do know, based on the list that I read you and the list you can get from their website, the 75 companies they have in there, the vast majority are really good. The vast majority that many of us may already invest in. Again, Disney's legit. Like, even whether or not I personally liked it or not, Disney's legit. Apple's legit. Twitter is there. AMD, they're legit. So you got some back in that. They're probably going to be pretty good. But I want to see how you do over the test of time. I want to see, like, can you do it consistently? Anybody, you can saw this last year. A lot of people have made a whole lot of money last year, but can you do it year in and year out? Could you have done it in 2018 when the market was down? did you do in 2019 before it was popular and everybody just jumped into it in 2020 when you could have invested in literally anything, almost anything, and made a lot of money? So we'll see. But the ticker symbol is Buzz. I am interested in it. I did add it to my public watch list. I'll probably post something about it tomorrow because it's just really, really interesting. And we'll see how things go. All right. So let me know what you think. Are there any stocks on that list that I mentioned that you want me to cover? I know I want to do AMD. I've added it to the list. Anything else you like, hey, look, can you cover this? What do you think about this stock? If it's a good stock, meaning like it's not a penny stock, I will be more than willing to talk about it or do like a versus episode when we compare AMD to, I don't know, NVIDIA or whatever. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you share and make sure you're on the email list, buildingbread.com/free. There will be some things coming out here pretty soon. All right, that's it for me. I'll talk to you guys later.